This week we're wrapping up Obscure Characters Month with a bot that many viewers are likely to have met for the first time this past year when he appeared in Netflix's War for Cybertron animated series. These are the basics on Soundwave's dark doppelganger, Soundblaster. The original Soundwave toy was first released in the Japanese toy line Microchange in 1983. It transformed into a micro-cassette player and was imported by Hasbro to become part of the first year of the Transformers line in 1984. The sinister Decepticon communications officer would prove to be one of the line's most popular figures, thanks in no small part to the toy's ability to interact with the Decepticon cassettes that could fit in its chest door, and it would continue to be sold right the way through 1986. After that, Hasbro were content to discontinue the figure, but their Japanese partner Takara had a different idea. In 1987, they released a retooled, recolored version of the toy exclusively in their markets, representing a powered-up version of Soundwave. It was given a new, thicker chest door that could hold 2 cassettes instead of just one, a cool black paint job, and a new name, Soundblaster. Soundblaster came packaged with Condor cassette Buzzsaw, who sported a sticker displaying a blueprint of Autobot leader Fortress Maximus. When Buzzsaw was placed inside his master's chest, Soundblaster's translucent red door would decode the image, revealing the location of Fort Max's weak spot. The story of how Soundwave became Soundblaster was told in the Japanese original animated series Transformers: The Headmasters. This series saw Soundwave engage in a final showdown with his Autobot rival, Blaster, which ended with them both destroying each other. Soundwave's cassettes recovered his remains, and the Decepticons used the advanced technology of the planet Master to restore him to life as Soundblaster. For his first mission after being reborn, Soundblaster remotely controlled the Decepticons' new weapon, the Mad Machine, in an attack on Cybertron, but he was foiled by Blaster, who had been resurrected by the Autobots as Twincast. Soundblaster appeared regularly throughout the Headmasters, still serving in his classic cartoon role of Decepticon spy and intelligence officer, until the series came to an end in 1988 and his toy was discontinued in Japan as well. Between being a new form for an iconic character and having all the allure inherent to being a Japanese original toy, Soundblaster's always been a bit of a cult favourite, and in the 21st century, it's no surprise that several of the many new Soundwave toys we've gotten have been redecoed in his colours. Like the original, some of these new toys represent upgraded forms for various different incarnations of Soundwave, but some series chose to take a whole new approach to Soundblaster and reimagine him as a separate character. The first piece of media to do this was the 2004 Transformers comic book by Dreamwave Productions. In this series, Soundblaster was a clone of Soundwave created by Decepticon scientist Shockwave. Appearing only in a brief one-panel cameo among a batch of clones gestating in Shockwave's lab, Soundblaster's inclusion in the comic was really just a little Easter egg for hardcore fans to spot. But in the world of the Transformers, you never know when an idea, big or small, will take on a life of its own. The first new Soundblaster toy was a recolor of the Transformers Cybertron Soundwave figure, released exclusively in the Japanese version of the toy line in 2006. It transformed into a stealth bomber and came with a buzzsaw who turned into a bomb. This version of Soundblaster was also a separate character from Soundwave, and featured in the Japanese prose story Beast Wars Reborn, which revealed that the name Soundblaster was only an alias. His true identity was Logos Prime, one of the legendary 13 Primes, the first Cybertronians created by the Transformers god Primus in the ancient past, who possessed vast powers over space and time. Once a noble being, Logos was driven mad by an encounter with the hyperdimensional monster Hyperion, and now sought to pass his powers on to a successor who would wreak chaos upon the universe. To this end, he resurrected Maximal leader Optimus Primal and Predacon leader Megatron following their deaths at the end of the Beast Machines animated series, and had them compete to be the inheritor of his power. His actions drew the attention of his brother Vector Prime, who put a stop to his plan in a battle on the astral plane. Now, Logos Prime was introduced at a time when the concept of the original 13 Transformers was still very new, and the group's full roster hadn't yet been developed. As Hasbro continued to flesh out the idea in the years that followed, they opted not to include Logos in their finalized list of the group's members, which is what all subsequent series to feature the characters is worked off of, so this version of Soundblaster has been mostly forgotten, though he was occasionally mentioned in stories from the Transformers Collectors Club. The first Soundblaster-inspired recolor to be released in Hasbro markets arrived in 2009 in the Transformers animated toy line. It was named Electrostatic Soundwave and came packaged with Ratbat, who transformed into a keytar synthesizer. This recolor was briefly featured in the animated cartoon, when Soundwave trapped the Autobots' minds in virtual reality, where they were confronted by a small army of digital duplicates of the Decepticon, all wearing these colours. Other notable appearances by Soundblaster, either as an upgraded form for Soundwave or as a separate character, include the Transformers Generations toy line, which included the first toy released by Hasbro under the Soundblaster name, the Titan's Return toy line, in which Soundblaster was the name of the small Titan Master robot who formed the head of the line's new Soundwave toy, and the Transformers Cyberverse cartoon, in which Soundblaster's colours were sported by several duplicates of Soundwave from various alternate universes. But the most significant new incarnation of Soundblaster was the one who debuted in the War for Cybertron Siege toy line in 2019. A retool and recolor of the Siege Soundwave toy with a double-sized chest door like the original, he transformed into a boxy Cybertronian spacecraft. As seen in the tie-in Netflix animated series, this version of the character brought back the idea introduced by Dreamwave. He too was a clone of Soundwave created by Shockwave. Deemed a failed experiment by his creator, Soundblaster became a mercenary, dealing black market goods to Cybertron's criminal underworld, from whom Bumblebee, RC, and Cog stole energon to power the Autobot spacecraft, the Ark. The initial release of the toy had a Decepticon symbol, but when it was re-released in the Generations Selects toy line in 2021, this was replaced with a new mercenary insignia to match the cartoon. Siege Soundblaster has also featured as a distinct character in the Transformers trading card game, and in IDW Publishing's comic books, in which the money-hungry mercenary forced Autobot sage Alpha Trion to help him hunt down ancient Cybertronian artifacts he could sell for profit. What began as a tiny Easter egg in a nearly 20-year-old comic has wound up becoming the most prominent depiction of Soundblaster since the original, proving that, in the world of the Transformers, even the most obscure ideas can achieve greatness. And those are the basics on Soundblaster. That's the end of Obscure Characters Month for this year. If you've enjoyed these videos, hit the like button or leave a comment below. If you want more Transformers history and lore, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about future episodes, which you can get early access to if you support the series on Patreon.